We are live. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Tyler Matthews. I am the Executive Director of Venture Café St. Louis. And we're about to get started here with a conversation on the TikTok ban. And I'm going to introduce my guest here in a moment. We are checking we're about to get the vitals here to make sure that we're all set. And if you heard some echo, that means that we're all good to go. So without further ado, Robert Cardillo, thank you so much for joining us today. We're excited to have you. Robert is the former NGA director of the National Geospatial Agency and is also doing several things here in the St. Louis area as well, with geospatial activities that have been just bursting at the seams here. Robert, actually, before we kick off, I wanted to just introduce you and then have you kind of explain what your former activities were and what you're working on now. I know we're expecting you to do a conference here or a trip here soon for some geospatial discussion. So yeah, let's hear what you're working on these days.
Thanks, Tyler. Thanks for inviting me. Look forward to the conversation. No, I finished up my, I call it Chapter 1, 36 plus years of government service last February. So a little bit, a year and a half ago. And I finished, as you said, as the sixth director of NGA. Had a wonderful career, blessed to have great assignments and opportunities. One of the most significant decisions I made as director was where to place the new campus. And so literally 4+ years ago, I picked North St. Louis, and I don't know if Vegas was setting odds on one way or the other, but some people thought we were probably heading out to Scott Air Force Base and, kind of a rural setting and more standoffish. And don't get me wrong, we would have been successful there. I mean, NGA is a great agency and it would do fine. But I thought, even though if you look at North St. Louis today and you look at the corners of Jefferson and Cass, you're going to have to close your eyes and imagine a different ecosystem around the new agency. And the agency is going up. It's got pilings in now. It's under construction. But that's why I was so glad that St. Louis University offered me the opportunity to be a visiting fellow with them a little over a year ago. And so pre-COVID, I was out there once a month, spent time with you, Tyler, and the community around Cortex as part of that. And I'm very happy that I'll be back in St. Louis about a month from now, less than a month from now, to be part of Geo Resolution, an annual conference that NGA and St. Louis University puts together. Matter of fact, I've just been told the interview itself will be in the CoLab spaces on the Cortex campus. So we'll be trying to bring us back a little bit, a little by little. But my whole agenda is to create an ecosystem from academia to industry to state and local governments back to the federal government and obviously NGA, because NGA in and of itself would be very successful, but it needs small business, it needs research and development, it needs academic involvement to truly reach its potential. So I've really enjoyed my that part of this chapter, and of course, happy to be part of the Cortex community as well, and do my bit to pay back for all the Thursday beers I've enjoyed from Venture Cafe. So
yeah, well, it'll be good to have you back.
It'll take me a while.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna actually give a little bit of an outline too, of what's going to expect, what people can expect who are watching this live with us. So we want to make sure that people have the opportunity, if they have questions along the way, to please submit them to us. We actually have a number here that you can text your questions to. If your question gets selected, we will bring you on live with us here to ask your question. So make sure you send those in and submit them through the number and not through the YouTube or Facebook chat or wherever you're at. So let's jump right in. For a long time now, or for several weeks now, time escapes me on how that's being measured these days. But the president has made some threats to ban TikTok. We've been hearing about this for a little while now, but really some of the clarity of what's going to happen has been a little unclear. But largely it's been on the grounds of security. Do you happen? I know that perhaps you don't have the insight you used to have now, considering that you're a civilian with us. But what what is the real concern here from a TikTok security standpoint? What's the main issue? Do you have any insight into this?
Um, let me sketch a bigger picture before I get back to your particular question about TikTok. And worth repeating, former retired government official. So everything I'm saying here is a private citizen, and please don't imbue any more inside information because I don't have it. All right, so this is an outsider's view. First, it is important to frame this issue within the broader context, and that's this. Look, and I'm not telling your audience anything they don't know, but we are engaged. The United States is engaged with a dynamic evolution of our relationship with China. China, as everyone knows, has gone through an incredible, in many ways admirable transformation as it is quite literally redefined its economy and its research and development, and its academic institutions, and its technology. And yes, they learned a lot from us, and they continue to do. And they've been more on the applications end, if you will, not the original, but they've applied it in ways that have been very successful. By the way, and I won't do it, Tyler, don't worry, but, this context is within, millennia. China used to be where we were, historically. And in the Chinese mindset, which again, I'm not an expert though, the current placement of China is an aberration. We need to move back where we belong, which is, at the top. So suffice to say, there's a conflict going on, right? And most times that conflict, in any conflict, has kind of general level of tension, and then it has spikes, right? And so what we're now going to talk about is a spike. We could talk about different spikes that have occurred. Your audience might remember that 4 or 5 years ago, FBI made allegations that the Chinese had hacked into the Office of Personnel Management in the U.S. Federal government, and they had done so in order to gain access to personal information. For example, my file's in there, and that if they wanted to find something that they could use, perhaps to get leverage and access, so you can imagine an espionage angle to it. But you could also gain economic advantage. Then I can negotiate this way, or I could, gain some sort of head start. Again, that was a big deal. I'm not here to talk about it, but I'm just saying that these spikes occur. Now, TikTok, I cannot tell your audience why TikTok is the spike right now, okay? But here's my theory. Another blinding flash of the obvious. There's a campaign going on, Tyler. Our current president is running for re-election. According to the polls, which we know how good those are, he needs to do better. Part of his, if you're a supporter of the president, or if you maybe might be a supporter of the president, I think one of the attributes in that camp is his engagement with China. He's been generally tough. Tariffs, treaty issues, evictions, those kind of things. So if it's important to you as an American that our leaders are tougher on China, you got that. So again, I didn't get to the TikTok, but you got this general thing that it kind of plays well if you find something to go, oh, China's not doing something good, and I'm going to go get them for it. This part is especially appropriate to my lack of access. My assessment is he was brought some information. It was probably classified, all right? It was probably sensitive how we got this information. Said, geez, there's X million Americans have logged on or signed up, and through their registration, they've offered this and that, and they've clicked these boxes that said that they will allow this. People know what it's like to log on to a new app. And Mr. President, we think that if the Chinese government, now TikTok's not part of the government, I know people disagree about that, but officially they're not part of the government. if the Chinese government were to get access to that data and those boxes, and now I'm tunneling, that's a tunneling, they could get in and create, again, a vulnerability. That's all conjecture. Cardillo doesn't know anything, but that's my guess. And so the president, if he got that information, he went, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be the tough guy on China. This will not stand. What can I do? Can I ban them? Can I make them sell themselves? Can I, do something in between? So I'm sorry for the overly long answer, but I thought it was important that we frame it properly to get to talk about what is it about TikTok and what's next.
Yeah, no, that framing is important, and I appreciate the context there. So there was the hard ban discussion. It might not be as that, cut really now at this point. I think there's actually, within the last hour, we saw that there's some pressure now to make a decision if they're banning or if they're delaying, this ban, et cetera. And now we have, jumping back to, I guess, to some of the ownership discussion now, what's happening with this US version or operations. So we have Oracle and Walmart owning a 20% stake, which is just kind of funny to say out loud anyway. But they're going to be overseeing the source code and the data. But from my understanding, from the last thing I read, was that the algorithms will be owned by ByteDance, which is a company that owns TikTok. So what does that mean from a security standpoint? If you have any opinions on that, what does that mean to have to separate some of the code in one area and another? Is that is it security theater? What's happening in that regard?
Yeah. So again, I'm sorry to keep lowering expectations of your audience, but I'm not a technologist. I'm the wrong guy to ask about algorithm A versus virus B and stuff. However, I think you hit the nail on the head at the end there, Tyler. I think this is more about the theater than it is the reality. And again, I'm not begrudging that there is some threat to access to data and that isn't real. And by the way, though, my view, Tyler, we should be worried about that all the time. Everything we enter. I mean, my view is if I put something into this laptop, it's vulnerable at some level, right? The world just isn't as safe. So again, didn't have access, but I think the broader thing is I can be tougher on China. And to me, if it is thus that by ByteDance keeping the algorithm holds that vulnerability, if you can just say that, well, no, I've got Oracle and Walmart. They're good American patriotic companies. They're now the buffer. You do this and you go on to the next fight. One man's opinion. Yeah.
Got it. So I know we have some questions coming in. We're going to bring them on here in a second. But I think the burning question before we jump to that is do you have a TikTok?
So I don't, but I have both children and now grandchildren. So I'm a second generational TikTok.
You're kind of proxy.
That's right. So yeah, we just got off of our delayed beach vacation because of COVID, and I certainly experienced it because I realized how infectious it is, and I don't mean that in a code way. I mean it's I would have been the last person to have come up with that idea and realized that it was going to make such a connection, but it certainly has.
Yeah, it's difficult to predict these things just because typically the dumber they are, the bigger. I mean, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, it's actually, it is very addicting. My wife and I got on there and we found ourselves scrolling for way too long and wasn't really quite sure what made it so addicting other than perhaps the ease of use. But it's now interesting, I guess, because it's this just to see this kind of technology where you have a lot of young people dancing and singing and doing really cringy reaction videos, being kind of the center stage of the world politics, just seems like a very 2020 kind of situation to be in. And I've been trying to think: is there been any other sort of situation where something as peculiar or cultural driven, moments have taken like the kind of the attention of the world. I couldn't think of anything off the top of my head. I don't know if there's any in your experience, if you can remember something as odd as a TikTok discussion being the political moment.
No, I can't, and I don't know if this is a good or bad analogy, but if you go back to the really old war movies, and part of the effort was to win hearts and minds, and so your government would put up their version of reality, and then the enemy government would put up, and whether it was in Japan or in Germany, they would broadcast from Germany and Japan to GIs and Allies soldiers, their view. And I don't know if that was a little mini version of TikTok. I mean, actually, I should just strike that. Can we strike that from the record? I guess not. It's out there. But I don't mean to say that TikTok is a spying tool. What I'm saying is it's an influencer, right? It's a cultural influencer. And I mean, that's the only historic kind of example of kind of where we've battled over the music and news stories, et cetera, kind of in those spy versus spy days. Maybe
it's more of like a Disney movie where Donald Duck goes to I'm wondering if there are any. I haven't been on there in a long time. I think when the whole ban came down, maybe overzealously got paranoid about it and removed it from my phone. But there was I had not seen if there was any moments of good propaganda that comes through TikTok or not. So we did have one question about the WeChat versus TikTok discussion. But it looks like they backed down from their question. So maybe we won't go that direction at all, unless you have any insight into the WeChat part. But I think it's a similar discussion as TikTok.
No, I think that's right.
All right. Well, we'll give any other closing thoughts here that our viewers can walk away with. Should they keep stuck on their phone? Any?
Look, I think I said earlier we should all take care, in the digital world. And that's just no matter what you're doing. Look, I'm going to go back to the broader view. I get it. We're in competition, with a rising power, and that's economic and that's military and it's political. On the economic side, on the technology side, I'm all for us just being more American. We're really good at innovating. We're really good at developing. We're really good. We've got a system that allows risk to be taken through venture capital, et cetera. Let's just turn it up. I don't know what the competitor to TikTok could be or should be, but game on. Let's try to be the next dumber app. Or that's a great bumper sticker, right? We can be dumber.
Yeah. So what you meant by that, by just being more American, just like the entrepreneurial spirit.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and again, I'm not belittling the fact that yes, there's some nefarious actors out there, and we should not let them get away with things. But the things like bans and things like prohibitions. Okay, I just think let's compete. I think we're really good, and I've got great confidence in places like Venture Café coming up with the next great idea. So my vote would be for game on.
Yeah. Well, and I think the game is on. It's I know that the Shenzhen area in particular is kind of seen as this great Bay Area. All right. And so it'll be interesting to see what develops out of there. We do have someone had some general thoughts. They're not coming on video. They're too shy. Maybe they weren't ready, but they discussed the WeChat ban, but the tussling around some of the questions with, and I'm going to pronounce it wrong. I'm not really sure why. I can't remember the pronunciation, but Huawei. Right. Are we at that same level of friction here or tension here?
Okay, so I think Huawei is a different story. because Huawei really is integral to, comms networks. You don't have to have a TikTok app, and a TikTok app is what it is, but a router is a router, and integrated comm circuit is an integrated comm circuit. So I do think the risk on the Huawei side is greater. And again, all the caveats I said before, Tyler, former government, not a technologist. Here's the thing that kind of gets, as Americans, I do wonder, we go around the world and we lecture countries and we say, you shouldn't buy that foreign product. You shouldn't use this because we don't trust them and whatnot. But let me give you this Microsoft package that is awesome, or let me give you this Google. I know we're the good guys and all that, but if I was those other countries, I'd be going, wait a minute here. Is this just, turning up the U.S. economy on this and that? Now, I don't think there's some grand conspiracy, but again, private citizens, Americans, sometimes I just get a little tired of the lecturing that sometimes we do, to these countries. And okay, speech over on that part, Tyler, but I'm back to competing. I think we're really good at that.
Yeah. Well, let's wrap up on that one. Unless there's any other comments you have for the audience here, I think we'll.
Look. One, thank you, Tyler, for what you're doing here. We're all trying to figure out how to navigate to the other side, wherever it is. You're a bridge to that. So thanks for keeping these conversations going. I'm happy to contribute whenever it could be useful. It was a little stretchy today, but again, for the guy that keeps saying game on, well, go ahead, try it out. So I hopefully was useful at some level, but again, thanks to you and your team for keeping us connected while we've got this distancing challenge these days.
Yeah. Well, no, thank you very much for jumping on. It was a pleasure to have you, and thanks for your insight and considering the position you've had and formerly in government and now also in the private citizen space of the private space and geospatial. So thanks again for your time, Robert, and we look forward to seeing you here later on this year at the geospatial. Actually, what is the geospatial event again? What's it called?
Geo Resolution. It's on 20 October. It'll be predominantly virtual. Like I said, we'll be doing the in-person interviews in the collab spaces there on the Cortex campus. But
and Robert's not paying me to plug that. I just want there's a lot of really great activity in the geospatial space here in St. Louis, so I wanted to make sure people have the opportunity to check it out.
Yeah. No, please do. And again, Tyler, I look forward to the next opportunity to chat.
All right. Well, have a good rest of your day, Robert. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Be well.
You too.